nation and spread all around. But the good things of the island they will never mention.
Merry Christmas, well, in advance, bright and prosperous 2022. My name is Patrick Saleh. This is Inside the Media. We are coming to you live from New Englandville Studios in Freetown. This is the SLBC, a program that highlights major issues and discuss them for the week. Issues for the week and bring in analysts who could discuss those issues. But now, as we roll over 2021 and to 2022, we are about just to do the major highlights for the year ending 2021. What are those major issues? Let me turn to my panelists who are now with me in the studios, Emperor Alpha Bayo Jalo and Mohamed Kone. We expect Doe, Kelvin Lando and Peter Say to join us in the studios. Gentlemen, good morning and welcome to Inside the Media as we end 2021.
Good morning, Patrick Saleh, and good morning to our viewers.
And I see already the Hamatan has come along with severe cold and one or two other health conditions.
Definitely.
Are you affected already?
Yes.
I noticed your voice has changed.
Yes.
Perhaps that is as a result.
Yes, as a result of the cold, because where I'm staying is like I'm staying in Europe. The place is so cold
and foggy too.
And foggy. Sometimes you wake up in the morning, it's like you hardly see from afar. So that tells you the surroundings. I mean the location where I live. So basically, it's a kind of very nice place. Less village, cool, not that much populated, but it's a big community.
So whilst other people are complaining of the heat conditions or the hot climatic condition, you are enjoying cold. Even it's Hamatan and it's affecting almost every Sierra Leonean, regardless of where
definitely, yeah.
So you are enjoying some serious cold.
Yes, yeah.
This is strange. Many people who continue.
Well, basically for people that normally stays around from Bay College up to Leicester, Gloucester, that's the normal weather condition in that community, in those communities. It's now better a bit because you now have other communities that are springing up from those rural villages. For example, Leicester is now expanding. You now have a place called Cassava Farm. You now have tree planting. You now have another place called Townhole, and these are all new communities that are emerging. So basically, the manner in which the climatic conditions continue to change. The sooner the moment you have new communities emerging, new buildings coming up, climatic conditions change because you see that trees will be removed, bushes will be removed. So basically, for them,
and they're not replaced.
They're not replaced because they are being replaced by structures,
by houses.
So basically, the climatic condition will change. But despite that, Leicester, Gloucester, these are still places that are very, very cold. You wake up in the morning, you see the place are foggy. It will be difficult to see afar. So basically, for me, I like it that way because I remember when I was downtown, 24 hours. If I'm at home 24 hours, I'll be on the fan. But now, since I relocated to Leicester, I've never used a standing fan. Never. Because the place is always cool.
So expenditure on electricity bills is managed.
Well, I would not say because you use electricity for something else. Yeah.
So would you see President Bill's trip to Glasgow for COP26 and the previous climate change conferences not worthy for Sierra Leone, considering the fact that you just mentioned, and we all can acknowledge, that trees are being cut, replaced by dwelling houses, and those trees, not a single one of them, in most places, are planted. to replenish the green environment of our various communities. So, in terms of policy, in terms of actions, for those conferences, or from that conference particularly, this 2021, would you say it's worth it?
Yeah, two things. Particularly this, the 2021 Climate Change Conference. It is important in two aspects. The first aspect, because I look at it and we are having some kind of campaign that we are looking at. And one of the key campaigns for this year's Climate Change Conference was that of debt relief. Why it is important? Sierra Leone is one country with huge debt burden. Our current debt is $30 billion. Leons, 30 billion leons.
Okay.
So if you convert that into dollars, it's $3 billion. If you convert that into dollar, it's $3 billion. And if you have that huge debt on you, and we have started paying our debt for every month, you pay like $50 million for the month, and the wage bill takes around 53.7%. And if you are collecting around, let's say if you are collecting around $6 million a month
in terms of tax,
yes, in terms of revenue, and 50 million has gone away, and you take 53%, will be paying salaries. What is left? It's left something around 1.07%. How much will you do with that in terms of development, in terms of your road, in terms of building new classrooms, in terms of providing water? So basically,
and you have
this climate change conference was very, very key, especially for poor countries, because they went to that conference with the hope of asking our bilateral donors, the World Bank and that of the IMF, to relieve us from debt, because it's only debt relief that will allow us to go ahead with development. And what that development means in terms of replanting our trees, in terms of mitigating climate change, because you only have enough money. The damage we have done to the climate, the damage we have done to the environment, you only need enough money to replace those, to take care of those damages. And so this climate change for me was very, very important. And I going to President Bio's, one of President Bio's speech, he did ask the world for debt relief for poor countries, including Sierra Leone. Although that has not come to fruition, UK Jubilee debt relief, we are also in that meeting asking the world that if you want these countries, because the Western world now want us Africa to take care of our climate, to take care of our environment by not cutting down at least indiscriminately. So if you want that to stop, if you don't want depletion in our forest, then you have to give us debt relief, whereby the monies now will be generating will be used to plant more trees. Though we have other sectors, we have people that are saying they are planting trees, but for me, it's difficult to see those trees.
Okay, Emperor Alpha Bayojalo, considering the lawlessness and indiscipline that has plagued Sierra Leone recently, you think, whether relief or not, Sierra Leone will be able to recoup or revitalize or revamp its green environment again to prevent or mitigate the climatic conditions, the climatic problems that we currently face? Because people construct houses or in locations that are not supposed to do so, unabated, with impunity. People cut trees. In fact, there's a mad rush for land acquisition and construction of houses. Let us cut it that way.
Yeah, thank you so much. You didn't ask me whether I'm affected by the current cold.
I noticed that's too from the voice.
Yeah, of course, indeed. Even my sitting push to here can tell that, and my voice as well. And this is an exceptional case in the global warming climate change. that 2021 I experienced this after years in the Republic of Sierra Leone. Then back to a question, meaning the central idea of the question is has to do with self-discipline by Sierra Leoneans, be it state functionaries or influential people, mad rush to acquire land in the western area, especially the water catchment areas, and deforestation, because when you talk about climate change, three things involved: deforestation. Without afforestation, possibly will lead to desertification, in the sense deforestation meaning the destruction, indiscriminate destruction of the forest, and afforestation meaning the replacement of trees, a replacement of the forest. And if that doesn't come to fruition, in certain area, for example, in Northern Africa, you expect desert. And for Sierra Leone, we are not a desert place. Certain areas we experience the climate change and in fact crops and land degradation.
Agricultural suffers.
Agricultural suffers, exactly. And drought, exactly. So then even fire, accident or outbreak. And in the area of self-discipline, that we have, for example, I was part of the COP26 in Glasgow in Scotland, and I was repeated virtually intermittently anyway, because I registered beforehand. I was supposed to be there, but being that I was not fully vaccinated, so I was in Sierra Leone. And our president,
same fate.
Our president Julius Malema, presented a strong case in the area of cancellation of deaths in area as part of the fight against global warming and climate change across the world. But what came out clearly, many African leaders or presidents across the world, or developing countries particularly, including Sierra Leone, are not too satisfied because the big guns, meaning developed countries, failed to have a strong commitment to helping Africa or developing countries in terms of climate change, to fight against climate change. And even though they promise to inject a huge chunk of money every year, to developing countries in the area of fighting against climate. And as far as this is concerned, in the area of madness, acquisition of land in Sierra Leone, not even the western area, urban western area, rural, across the country.
Well, it's more prevalent in the
urban area, of course. But there is a cabinet ministry called the Ministry of Lands, Housing and Country Planning, right?
Yes.
And there are other...
the Ministry of Environment too.
The Ministry of Environment is there as well. And we also have another agency, Environment Protection Agency, then you have the NPP, National Protected Area Authority. All this related to land or the environment itself.
But how can their efforts being duplicated?
Yeah, that is it indeed.
Creating too many institutions performing almost the same duties.
Yeah, it's a double edge. That's a double edge function. Okay. Part of the question he posed to my colleague here and brother Mohamed Kone, is that looking at these, I want to put it in a very simple form, that looking at the debt you have occurred, right?
Yeah.
It's a 30 billion leons, right?
Yeah.
Which is equivalent to 3 million. Is that 3 million?
Yeah.
United States
It's 30 trillion.
Trillion.
It's 30 trillion.
So can you imagine?
So convert that to dollar. It's 30 billion.
Okay, let's put that way. I just want to make a quick reference to that in relation to what I was trying to say. And in the area of the wage bill, the bloated wage bill, okay, an increment of divisions of state institutions, a ministry, one ministry divided into two, or even like that, you also have a constituency, a government agency, and under that particular division of the particular ministry, right? Then all those people have the human resource, you understand, the personnel to handle, the affairs of those institutions. And those people have to do the administrative cost. You have to pay salaries, other entitlements for those people, the running cost of the ministries, the departments and agencies as well. So if you have so many ministries, so many departments, so many agencies, oh my God, compared to the source of government revenue and public expenditure, it's a huge challenge. As a result, the National Survival Blueprint, meaning the cost of living of the people of this country, popularly known as the bread and butter issue. Being one of the campaigners of the bread and butter issue, I will continue to be a campaigner of it.
In what sense?
In what sense? As in, what I'm doing now.
No, what I mean, from what angle are you coming from in terms of your campaign?
In terms of the campaign, what I'm doing now is an integral part of the campaign. Within and outside the television studio, within and outside a radio studio, even a local community or even one-on-one.
What are you aiming to achieve in essence?
To achieve it is that the federal government to restore state subsidies to basic commodities, meaning political commodities, for example, rice, fuel, and other essential commodities, to restore state subsidies.
But the government has repeatedly argued that it's the richer people that continue to be richer. The poor people continue to be poorer. If they continue to subsidize or give in some...
No, that is fine. Let me tell you, I don't want to bring in IMF in this matter for now. But let me tell you, one of the loan conditionalities of IMF, you understand, and I came to know about this clearly whenever I went through a course on international affairs and global, prosperity beyond GDP, that IMF, International Monetary Fund, have been contributing immensely to the suffering of member states of that particular financial institution. Now, if the IMF advised the sitting government,
especially in developing countries,
to withdraw fee subsidies, you understand, state subsidies from fuel, that means we have an increment of fuel prices, the pump price. Then to withdraw subsidies from rice, you understand. So we have a skyrocketing of prices of rice, a bag of rice, or even a cup of rice. So as a result, government just have to defend itself because they don't want to put it plainly. That's why we don't even have price control because of IMF. Because if you know the integrity of IMF, the dealings between IMF and member states, definitely you will definitely find yourself either you develop hypertension or develop hypertension, whatever you call it.
So I just want to contribute on what my brother has said. Basically, the argument about subsidy come in two ways. Currently, I know there is zero tax on flour, there is zero tax also on rice, and also the fuel. Subsidies have been removed from fuel, and my argument over the years is that if government is putting subsidies on fuel, who is benefiting? It's for the poor people to benefit. But what we are not doing is not controlling who to benefit from that subsidy. And where we have gone wrong over the years is the fact that multilateral companies that are operating in this country, who come here with their money, the agreement government go into is that they should provide their own fuel. And how do you do that? You do monitoring of them bringing their own fuel, where it is sanctioned by government that this particular company is coming with 60 barrel of crude oil, 40 barrel of every month. If you bargain with that and make sure that happens, because when government subsidize fuel, both the rich and the poor buy from the same pump from the fuel. So at the end of the day, it's the people that are rich and are benefiting more. Because for me and you, how many times do we travel to the provinces? It's the rich people that normally travel to the provinces every weekend, because we don't have that money.
Most of them have electronic cars that consume more fuel.
Definitely. So sometimes if I go to the provinces, maybe it's for coverage. It's not for my own leisure.
Stations.
Yeah, definitely. So those who use the road more are the rich, and so they should pay. They should pay for it. That is why when government is putting subsidies on fuel, it makes sure that multilateral companies that are operating in this country, who are making money in this country, should be monitored and make sure that the agreement they've signed onto, they go by those agreements. Okay. But that is not happening.
Okay, let me put you guys on the spot now. 2021 is rolling over, and we are entering 2022, a new year, a new dawn. Let us look at 2021 in retrospect. What were your major highlights of issues for the year. It could be good, it could be bad, it could be ugly. I want you determine for you. We have a number of issues that happened, that emerged, that were reported. You read some of those issues. So what was the major highlight? Let us discuss them. I'll start with you, Mohamed Connect.
I think you have for me there are several issues that happened this year.
Economical,
yes, yeah. But
APC, SLPP.
Yeah. For me, well, let me take the fire incident that happens in
November 5.
Yes, in Wellington. Living along the political wahala, the members that were removed in parliament, the problem, the census aspect. But that fire incident at Wellington was a major incident that we need to learn from what happened on that Wellington incident.
What is there to learn from?
So much. Because as a country and as a people, because if you look at your poverty situation and you look at that situation you have and tend to address it in your own way, the manner in which that will bring fatality to you, that is exactly what happened on that particular day. Because we all know that fear is flammable, petroleum product, and if you don't handle it with care, it will end up burning you. And that's exactly what happened. We've seen in many other places where the destruction that incident like that has caused. And on that day, on that spillage, people were warned that there was fear was spilling. Let's leave this area, let's stop it. And yet still, people went there, young people, mad rush, taking fear. For me again also, somebody was arguing, well, a free fear, you put in it, it was free. That was stealing. Because it was somebody's fear that was stealing. And that person is, and that, listen, I'm coming.
Yes,
that person never told you
why would you say it was stealing? Because it was already seen.
So is it yours?
It was wasting to no man's kingdom.
Was it yours?
Therefore,
and the owner,
something is wasting. No one should make good use of it.
No, it's not yours until the one that is having that particular product
gives you permission. But it was already wasting into nobody's care and kingdom.
Party. So what was the end result?
Let us assume for one.
What was the end
result? Question. If you were in that situation, I'm not saying because you are enlightened already in that manner as a journalist or learning already from what you have learned from. If you are in that situation in their plight, some have argued that it's as a result of the poverty situation because a rich man cannot go to that place.
Definitely.
You so what I'm saying cannot stoop so low to go to that, but because of their economic situation, I want to say poverty condition.
So I was saying that is why I was saying there are two things.
What would you have done?
There are two things. One is we take our poverty situation to respond to issues that bring danger to us, but also government also has a responsibility, because when that incident happened, I mean if you had the disaster management alerting the security units to move people away from that place instantly, I'm sure we'll have averted the problem that happened on that particular day. But go back to your question, if I was in their position, enlightened as I was, but even I'm not a rich man, but with my poverty situation, I will not put myself in danger. I've experienced the same fire way back during the NPRC days and during the time of Pakaba at Kisi. Yes, it happened. The one that happened during the NPRC days at Sakila Road, just by Christ Church, a tanker fell off. A tanker that was carrying fuel fell off, and it was spilling, and people went there. people went there. The house just as you're getting down to West Street, that house that was burned down. Somebody was
Scooping fuel.
Scooping the fuel. No sooner he came the second time or the third time, there was fire, and he has to push the bucket over, and the bucket landed in somebody's building, and the house went aflame. So basically, I've learned from that. And also in Kisii, it was another spillage. People also went there to scoop, and another fire disaster happened. People were burnt. Mass. So basically, looking at those incidents and coming to the Wellington incident, so we should have, as a people, we should have learned a lesson from that. But I tell you, today,
people that were affected at Wellington were not around at the time to have learned from those incidents you just cited.
I know. You have young people who died in that Wellington fire incident that were not around during the Wellington.
Perhaps we are not even born yet.
Yeah. Yes.
And mind you, some of them though. Let me bring this discussion to Bayo Diallo on this. Some of them were trapped in traffic. Were caught up in traffic. So the alert Mohammed is citing that the National Disaster Management could have better managed the situation had it not been for the stubbornness of the people around at the time.
Yeah.
Well, looking at the traffic situation there, so many people to blame. Even President Julius Maada Bio had stated that it is not time, or was not time, or it's still not time for a blame game. Let us try to address the situation. But many institutions and other individuals should carry blame for that. Many have even said that the police, whether it was one police officer or two personnel that were there, could have diverted the traffic to in one Calabar town. There's a road, old road.
Yeah.
There's an old road in one Calabar town through Wellington to Kisii or wherever onto Terry Junction.
Yeah.
That traffic could have been averted or diverted. So in this situation, what would you say should have been done at the time in order to have avoided that situation happening?
Well, you mentioned a lot of issues. Initially, you mentioned poverty. Now, you mentioned the word stubbornness by the people themselves. And to cast aspersion
when you are poor, you are stubborn.
One thing, poverty with contentment. Poverty with contentment may mitigate a disaster, but poverty without contentment may not mitigate a disaster. For example, the recent one, November 5, 2021, Wellington has okay. Now, whether to cast aspersion on state institutions like the National Disaster Management Agency, I don't know whether it is a national, coordinating agency or disaster management, because I listened to the Director General of that institution, the former Chief of Defense Staff, Mr. Brahma Sise, that when they receive the alert that something is happening in Wellington, they also communicated that to the police and ONS, to take the appropriate action. And also one thing I was also commending, the state institution, the Sierra Leone Police. If the Sierra Leone Police stood firm as usual to prevent people or barricade in that place or make a condom that people should not come to this particular area where the tanker is spilling, that would have been a different ball game, a physical fiasco, confrontation between civilians and the Sierra Leone Police. That these are the type of human beings on earth, because they refer to the Sierra Leone Police as a different human being from a different earth, from a different planet. But because the police, they are attempted, according to my findings there, they are attempted to prevent people from scooping that fear because of the danger ahead. So they step aside and allow them to go ahead and do that.
But the fatality could have been reduced.
Because averting the traffic there, you understand. You know the relationship between the Sierra Leone Police and civilians. Certain civilians have no respect for the Sierra Leone Police.
Definitely.
Even though the Sierra Leone Police is trying, the responsibility of the Sierra Leone Police is to save life and property. If the police is there to execute the designated duty, the civilians should allow the Sierra Leone Police to go ahead and do that. But you should not use the so-called democracy and human rights in Sierra Leone, which people is now a license for lawlessness, indiscipline, and recklessness. So the Sierra Leone police, the first port of call, who we are around present there, to avert that situation. But we know, as usual, the physical confrontation between Sierra Leone police and civilians, that it's their own right to attack the Sierra Leone police. It's their own right, in order to be law-abiding citizens of this country. Now, in the area of saying poverty, that is poverty to people. Now, before the incident, the killer balloon fire in Wellington, people were still up, but they were still alive. Life was so strong and kicking. But when we went back to scoop the leaking fuel from the tanker, even though according to sources, eyewitness sources, that the tanker driver did in fact he used a megaphone to warning people, don't come closer to this particular tanker. The fuel is oozing, it's danger, keep off. People are saying it's our time to enjoy. People don't want us to survive. So it is our own time now to survive now. You see the problem? So they have lost their time. But I pity
whenever such incidents happen, a petroleum tanker starts leaking petrol or
it only happens in poor countries.
But it happens all over the world. Agreed?
Yeah, all over the world. Countries that are poor.
Let us go to use that one.
There's no spillage will not happen. Spillage will not happen. Let me tell you.
More than 1 month on. If you go to the very location, we're speaking about lessons learned here. If you go to the very site now, you still meet the same system, the same congestion along that same locality.
Yeah.
In fact, people are becoming more flooded in the area perhaps than before.
Yeah.
And in fact, they continue to use items that attract flammable product or that attracts flames of fire, such as people continue to cook along the roadside, continue to congest the pathway, footpath, as well as if you go there you see destruction. So we're talking about lessons learned, and we have National Disaster Management Agency. By now, many had hoped that they should have been able to clear off that area. Are we learning, Emperor?
No, we are still not learning. And even after the incident, I was there as recent as yesterday. I passed through that axis, I saw the place. One of the fuel stations is now under rehabilitation. And also, there was a rumor that police are coming to clear up that area because of the congestion, as a result of the tragedy, the killer balloon fire, Then the reaction was, we are waiting for them to come. Then go sabi for say we know they take them. I could too. So I asked the people why people are insisting that Sierra Leone police, the Sierra Leone government really police, that you people should keep off from this place as a result of the bitter experience in recent month. That was the 5th of November 2021. People are still desperate, to carry on their businesses in that particular axis. And they stand firm to these people if they decide to be there to get them off that.
And of course, Mohammed, if they have to clear that area because of that incident, then almost all other areas where people have occupied the roadside must be cleared too, because they equally are prone to such disasters, whether in the near or distant future.
Basically, this is where we have challenge with all government that have come and gone, including this current government.
Protecting the lives of people.
The problem we are having, I mean, you go to those communities where if they say today the police is going to clear those areas, what we have to say, people are going to vote for them. And this and government yield to those kind of pressures. But I tell you, as a government, if you do the correct thing, you will have more people voting for you.
I know that is one of the reasons.
That is why Abacha up to now, Abacha still remains the way it is.
And I know that is one of the reasons that has stalled the operations to clear the right of way.
Definitely, because what you now hear, they put it there, they vote for them. They don't do anything for it. They want people so they get to Antomot.
At the detriment of the
definitely. But I tell you, if you take the the voting CLA population to that of those that are occupying those streets, they are just a minute population. But government look at that as a big margin. That is why they are toiling with those people, and the people are also toiling with government, because their slogan is that we'll not vote for you if you take us from this place. Yes. And so basically, government, I would say government is in that catch-23 position between the devil and the sea, in the pond, out of the pond. So basically, it's a hot and cold issue. So basically, for any government that want to succeed, if you do the right thing, you will succeed.
Emperor.
And people will vote you in the next time.
Emperor,
Yeah.
your pick for the 2021. What's your major highlight?
Oh my God, it's a key one for me. So many has happened in 2021.
Including your parliament.
Yes.
Including the parliament, that many people have said has to be fixed. If at all the problems of this country need to be fixed.
Yeah, of course, that has been the sayings of many Sierra Leoneans. Then the debate and parliamentary debate and proceedings, the practices as well. Agreement and disagreement of members of parliament, the ruling and the opposition, and the walkout, etc., etc. That's been a normal phenomenon and across parliaments in the world.
So outside
However, outside, let me tell you one thing. They are not enemies. Members of parliament, the ruling and the opposition, they are not enemies. What they have been exhibiting in parliament, you understand, is just a mere politics. Because when the opposition,
confuse the voting population.
of course, they are not enemies. APC, SNDP, they are blood brothers.
The wine and dine happily together.
Of course, you understand. So I'm appealing to supporters of APC and SNDP that APC and SNDP, they are not enemies, and they too, supporters should not be enemies. Please.
So outside parliament,
peace. Within outside parliament, they are not enemies at all.
But what I mean outside parliament, what major highlight will you say for 2021?
Well, in fact, the sub-appropriation, the 2022 budget, national budget, and the debates, also other highlights there. Then subsequent sub-appropriation exercises, and the House of Parliament, meaning the Committee of Supply, was divided into 11 groups, to vet out, in order to scrutinize government, ministry, departments, and agencies of the 2021 budgets, how they expended that money, their challenges, and the way forward. That was the pivotal role or the central idea of the exercise. And there are also disagreements in the approval of certain political appointments. For example, you have these the recent one, the Western Area Commissioner, and then also the Chief Electoral Commissioner entered approval. And I think these are the major ones I could recall as far as I know. But there are so many issues, very important issues. Then the census as well, the midterm census. All of us know the Buhari.
Have you been counted? Have they reached you?
Of course. I think the third day.
Have they reached you?
Yes,
No.
I've been counted the third day.
I unfortunately, like many other
The
people,
third day on
have not been
Sunday.
reached. I've not even seen them anymore.
Then also
Maybe doing the
judiciary as well.
they have until the 31st.
But we have extended that one.
To mop other areas.
To do more work.
Of course, There are also justice sector as well.
Let us discuss the census issue.
The census issue, and also the judiciary, the justice sector, and public control.
Okay. But I think the census is a little dicey.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Some arrests have been made, and some of those people have been charged to court for violating the census orders or census rules. Does that not sound absurd to our ears that people are refusing or even inciting other people from being counted, while a few of us or some of us are yearning or looking forward to that opportunity. But I remember in 2015, I keep telling people, well, I was producing at the Independent Radio Network IRN, and the calls and messages were flooding hugely of people not being reached or communities not being reached for that census.
Yeah.
And we are almost about making the same mistakes. Are we? Are you seeing that?
I was not counted the previous one, 2015 census. I was not counted. And I stayed home for several days waiting for the ministers to come so that I'll be counted. I've never counted, only this one. That was the third day of midterm census that I was counted on Sunday. And I'm not saying that the midterm census is not important. It's very, very much important. And those politicians who are inciting others not to be counted to allow them. You understand? They have already been counted. So why are they deceiving the public? And I had to call a police officer for a young guy who came where I was sitting with some people that I want to quote directly in the local parlance and say, oh, they wait where the census people and car open the gate for them, who they deal with them. So automatically I advise him that, please gentlemen, don't do that. Oh my God. I faced the wrath of that gentleman. The real abusive was for me because I advised him not to attack the immigrants or the census people. So I had no option but to call the police officer to come and take care of the situation. But we shouldn't do that. The only thing is that census in, census out. What have we achieved in all those censuses? Since census began or commenced in this country,
The problems
we are looking at is that the developmental impact of those censuses should be our primary concern. But it should not mean that it should not be counted. You understand? It's a government exercise, it's illegal, it's a constitutional. Somebody will not say it is not constitutional, it's not legal, it should not take place. No, it should take place. Be it the census, or midterm census, all censuses should be carried out accordingly.
Okay.
It should mean you see that one. The only thing is that how much have we achieved from those censuses?
Since we started conducting census.
Since we started conducting censuses
So-
from 1980
Developments have hardly been.
No, not from Nigeria. No, censuses supersede. Censuses is a supersede development, national development.
I remember that the very first census I was counted, I quite remember in 1984. I was counted in 1984. I was a small boy.
The APC, the APC and other opposition political parties are jittery that the Bureau SLPP administration could use this midterm census to do fresh boundaries so that of course for obvious reasons. But again, in this sense, let us ask ourselves, why haven't we waited until the stated 7 to 10 years in the laws of in the census laws that census should be conducted? We last conducted in 2015.
Yeah.
Or for 7 to 10 years to come, it will not be far from now. So why haven't we waited? Why do we have to rush the process?
Again, for me, that would be a question for statistics. The government.
We all have agreed the government that the 2015 census was wrongly done.
Yes.
Was not correctly done. And had so many errors. Why is this one being rushed now? Why haven't we waited?
So basically, that could be a question for the government and statistics here alone. But what I would say, for any time you count people, as long as you count them yesterday and population continue to go, you count them today, you have new population. So basically, and whenever you have new population, you have to have new settlements. You have to have new boundaries because population boundaries come by population. The more the population, the more the boundaries. So basically, the APC know that. They very well know that. No sooner they allow people to be counted and that population grows, they know that you have new boundaries. So that is what.
But the Bureau administration has assured the public that it has nothing to do with.
That is politics, but Patrick, we are living in Sierra Leone. We are not living in space. So let nobody tells you that if we have a population growth, we don't have new boundaries. We have new boundaries. Let nobody fool you on that.
But perhaps not for the 2023 elections.
Whether not for the 2022, not for the 2023 election or not, the sooner we have census and you count people and you have population growth, there will be new constitutions, new constituencies. So let people don't be fooled in that area. The only thing I would say, census is very important. It's just that we are a poor country. Other countries like the United States, that of Japan, every 5 years they do census.
Okay.
Maybe every 5 years.
We are closing.
We are just doing us because we don't have money.
We are closing this discussion on what is now proposed to be a very serious and thorny National Delegates Conference of the ruling Sierra Leone People's Party, SLPP. 5 candidates are vying for the position of chairman, and that will include among the list incumbent Dr. Prince Alex Harden, former Minister of Finance Momodu Kuruma, Jimmy Batilu Songa, the current organizing secretary of the party. You have also the likes of Alex Bonafa and Joseph Samba Kelfala. Well, that is the contentious position so far amongst the several other positions that elections are to be held for 29 or 30. Momodu Kuruma, I have mentioned. So, gentlemen, what are your expectations from this convention? Because the mandate of the court executive has been deferred severally by the party's secondized decision making by
NEC.
NEC. Yeah. What are your expectations?
It's going to be a big fight within the SLPP, and we've started seeing that fight. Imagine even before now, you see the tension between that of Bati Osunga and that of Dr. Prince Harden. This is no secret that these are the two front runners, and they are neck deep in fighting themselves, supporters.
So do you think the delegates might snub them?
Well, the one thing I would say, delegate election is one of the dangerous elections I've witnessed in this country, and it's a very difficult elections. Why I say so?
Sometimes you spend money.
Yeah, because in the first place, I already know people that are voting. I already know them, those that are voting. And the other thing, is that the people that are voting are either relative or friends of almost the candidates. They are friends, they are family members, they are relations of the same candidate that are contesting. So that makes delegate election more dangerous.
But there are issues.
Because the aspect of trustworthy, the aspect of the outcome itself, it brings a whole lot of problem, palaver. I mean, people will not be in speaking terms at the end of the day. But this election is going to be a tense election.
You mean it's going to cause more division in the SLPP than it is now?
If they do not handle it properly.
Because I've heard GSK Fala people blasting, bashing the current chairman for manipulating processes and procedures of the party. He was on the SLBC's election special program some few days ago. But let me bring in the Alpha Biolojalo on this. There are issues now of the current chairman and leader of the party, whose position is going to be divided after this convention. Now they are going to have a separate leader of the party, as it was before, as things were before. About his former driver, and many I've had along in the corners of people saying that with this issue and plenty others, we're not sure we're going to trust him again in that position. So that's why I asked Kone, perhaps him himself and Batilo could be snubbed. But who is the better placed person to replace them or to take their position as chairman?
Well, that one is in the first place, I never knew that the former Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Momodu Kuruma, is still alive, strong and kicking. Until recently, when he threw his hat into the chairmanship race of SLPP. And 29 and 30 December 2021 going to be tough. I will not be going to be rough, but any election by delegate is delicate. Any election by delegate is delicate.
That is why this kind of dangerous.
Exactly.
Election.
The only thing is that I wish those who will win and also wish those who will lose.
Between Batilo and Prince Harden.
Yeah, that's it.
What's your best bet?
Well, I'm not a delegate anyway. I'm outsider.
No, your best bet. We are just betting. Listen, bet.
Don't put him on the spot.
No, the question is, I'm an outsider, please.
The only thing
Prince Harden has been in that position, okay? And some are calling him to be a grassroots, chairman or whatever. Some are criticizing him of manipulating things. But I don't know, because I'm not an insider, I'm an outsider. I'll just listen to what people are saying about him. So the only thing that delegates will be determiners of the winners or the losers of that particular delegate conference,
Correct.
29 and 30.
For me,
the best bet
for
between
me,
the two.
what I
If at all they should emerge, any of the two should emerge as chairman.
for me, both of them should not be in that position.
Why do you say so?
They've caused so much trouble for their party. They need to have a neutral person to come into that position to stabilize the party. And you have Party Mesonga, you'll be destabilizing the party more. You have Dr. Prince Harding. It's like you are putting more fuel on fire. So for me, if I am to choose, I'm going to choose between the two of them. They need to, if the delegates of the SLP are listening, and they need to have a new player in that position. I will not say who, but they need to have a new player in that position.
The SLBC will be live in that delegate conference of the SLPP, where they will be electing their new national officers, their executive. Well, stay tuned to the SLBC for more if you can. This is how we draw the curtains down in this week's edition of Inside the Media, perhaps the edition that closes 2020. Well, thanks to my panel of analysts, Mohamed Kone and Emperor Alpha Bairo Jallo. Thank you to my producer, Lucian Ganda, my control operator, Jibila, and to my camera operators, John Powell and Daramula Stephen. Till next edition of Inside the Media, thanks to you, especially who have taken time to watch this program. Have a splendid weekend. Merry Christmas, a bright and prosperous New Year.
They trying their best to stop our progress with bad propaganda. I'm in foreign press. Bad things are blown out proportion and spread all around. But the good things of the island they will never mention.